open public meeting statement.
Pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board at Borough Hall and by notification to the Asbury Park Press, the Newark Star Ledger, and the New Coaster at least 48 hours prior to the meeting, and filing with the Borough Clerk all on December 20, 2022.
May I ask the clerk to call the roll?
Ms. Buckley? Here. Mrs. Clay?
Here.
Dr. Dobrin?
Here.
Mr. Nessie?
Here.
Mr. Manginelli?
Here. At this time, I would like to invite everyone to join in reading the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval, there is one set of meeting minutes for approval. May I have a motion to approve the January 3rd, 2023 regular meeting minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes. Before we move on to reports, we have a presentation by County Administrator Terry O'Connor. Mr. O'Connor, would you kindly come up?
Good evening. I'm here tonight on behalf of Commissioner Director Tom Arnone, whose mother is extremely gravely ill this evening, and he was unable to leave. So I apologize on his behalf, and I'm here. I'm a poor second for Director Arnone. I will do my best to give you an update as to where we are on the Reclamation Center and field any questions. If I can't answer them, I'll get back to you, and I hope you will indulge us on that, please. Thank you so much. I think everybody's probably aware that in 2021, the county had issued a request for proposals for operations of the landfill, and in March of that year, Waste Management took over operations for us. They've been operating since then. The workforce at the Reclamation Center was absorbed into vacancies that the county had, so we resulted in no layoffs, no impact on county employees. We have had a very successful run with Waste Management. They were able to address the odor complaints, and for a while.
Excuse me, sir, is there a microphone we can give this?
I'm
Do you have a
sorry.
can you speak into it?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. Like I said, I'm a poor second to Director. I know I don't usually do the public speaking part of the county government. So obviously, Waste Management is operating our facility, and if there are complaints, if anybody has any issues, the director is responsive to those issues. I know that we were recently drilling new wells there. Waste Management was drilling new wells, and there were a couple of days where there were complaints. The complaints were investigated, and I believe that they have been addressed at this time. If anybody has anything specific, I can certainly take those back to the director, and we can look into them further. But I do believe that we have addressed the issues that came up as of late. We also have a gas processing plant that we expect to award a contract to the vendor by the spring of this year, which will take the landfill gas that's currently being flared and capture it, and we're in the process of the RFP, so I don't know specifically where it's going to go or who the vendor will be, but that will further reduce the potential for odors at the landfill. I don't know. Obviously, we're in negotiations with the host community, with your professionals, and those negotiations continue. And I'm sure in the meantime, the county is honoring the existing agreement, which I believe is about $2.4 million a year. And at this point, does anybody have any questions? Anything that you would like
Do you have
me
any
to
questions from the
address?
council?
I just have a
a query.
Sure.
We recently found out that there was a tentative Phase 4 permit approval issued by DEP.
There is a Phase 4 plan for, obviously, capacity at the landfill is something that we're always keeping an eye on. There is nothing concrete right now. There's no specific plan for, the building of Phase 4. We have conceptual plans that DEP approved. It's actually filling in between the valleys of, I believe it's Phase 2 and Phase 3. Certainly, if you would like, we can have our professionals who actually the engineers for the landfill come and, give you a presentation on exactly what that looks like when we're further down the road with the actual design.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Okay.
I know you can't answer this question, so just for those in the room. So we just issued comments in 2021, actually, for the last application, stating basically what the concerns were at that time. We just received, like, today, what the then response and permit was back to DEP.
Okay.
So really, from our perspective, we just want to make sure that all the concerns we addressed and raised and sent in 2021 are sufficiently addressed before there be a final permit approval, obviously, because it is extremely important to, the residents of our town who live right there.
Understood. We try to be a good neighbor here, and we'll do whatever we can and give you whatever information that you request. Thanks.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Okay, thank you. Do you want me to stay if there are any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Council President, if I could just let the audience know, Director Arnone's email address to his office is on our website, along with the DEP notification email address, should any of the residents have any issues going forward. Mr. Arnone asked that he be reached out directly to his office, and feel free to reach out to the DEP as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can, the county website also has access to those things as well. Okay, thank you very much, and again, I appreciate that your understanding of Director Arnone's situation.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to reports. Oh, are you going to introduce someone?
Yes, sir. So tonight we have Margaret John. She's our health officer from Freehold Township. For those that don't know, we entered into a shared service agreement with Freehold Township that began January 1st of 2023. And Ms. John's going to give us a brief overview of what to expect within the partnership.
Yes. Good evening. Can I just approach? I have a handout for everyone, just a summary of services. Thank you. It's a pleasure here. Can you hear me all right? Am I close enough? It's a pleasure to be here and to meet everyone. We are really looking forward to serving the residents here in Tinton Falls. Just a little bit of background. We've had shared services with other municipalities for 45, probably going on 50 years. And it's a pleasure. One of the things that I think I'd like to point out that I think is different with our health department than some of the other larger health departments is that I serve a municipality, so I understand what municipalities need, what other departments need, and how important it is that we work together. I do not want you all to think of our department as a third entity that just is out there doing whatever. I want you to think of as a partner that you can call at any time that you need us to share services and or to work with other departments. So I can't say enough. Personally, I've been a health officer for about 20 years. I've been in public health for 35 years. Can't believe I'm saying that. Here I stand. Our department consists of about 12 people. We have inspectors, we have a public health nurse, we have a public health a health educator who we are just about to hire a second health educator, given the increased number of services that we are providing here with Tinton Falls. And we also have an epidemiologist who provides communicable disease tracking and awareness. I gave you a list of the services. I don't want to sit there and go on about what we do provide, but I can't emphasize enough how I am available if you need us. If there are any issues, by all means, we would like to hear that and to be in contact. I'm not sure, Charlie, if there's anything else you wanted me to include other than questions. Questions?
No, this is just a comment. I just wanted to say thank you for the increased communication that we've been receiving from your office, from your department. And it makes it feel truly like there is a partnership like renewed partnership, so thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome, and we're just getting started, so you may hear from me more than you want to, but that's the key, is that we're here, we're an extension of you, and I'm here to, we're here to do what you all need us to do. So with that, we look forward to the partnership, and I'm sure we will be meeting again very soon. Any other questions?
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Council President, if I may, just so the community is aware, we do have a health services tab on our borough website. So if the community wants to contact our health service professionals directly, they can as well. All their information is listed as well as their services they provide.
Thank you, Mr. We'll move on to reports. Mr. Neff, Borough Engineer.
No report tonight.
Mr. Fallon, CFO.
Yep, just a quick budget update. We're looking to introduce the budget at our March 21st meeting. So I've been working with the administration and the mayor to get his budget prepared. So we'd be looking to get that to council by the end of February, so you have sufficient time to review it and come back with any questions or concerns. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Terrafenko.
I'd just like to read one thing into the record. We just received a letter from Ann Jack this evening, and it's commending the Environmental Commission, and the Deputy Commissioner Elizabeth Ritter provided us with a check for a stewardship grant that we applied for and we were awarded. And in this letter, it also congratulates the Commission on the planning and execution of a tremendous project. And Jack is delighted to see the progress made and the wonderful nests that were built here in Tinton Falls, and are happy to have Tinton Falls and the Environmental Commission as a member of their team. So congratulations to the Environmental Commission, and we had gotten our check about 4 o'clock today. That's all I have.
Mr. Starkey.
I have no report tonight, thank you.
Ms. Hutchinson.
I have no report this evening, thank you.
We'll move on to council reports. Ms. Buckley.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I will start with the NJAC grant. So thank you for that segue, Charlie. This refers, for those who aren't familiar, with an osprey nest, 2 of them actually, that were put up on Riverside Avenue West. We had applied for that project for an NJAC grant totaling of $1,500, which we did get accepted. We then worked with DPW and our Tinton Falls Environmental Commission volunteers. And that was kicked off with an Osprey Fest day of children's games and activities in October. And we just submitted the final report for all of the completed activities and budgets, and that's when we received the second half of the grant. So well done to the Environmental Commission. Great effort on everyone's behalf. And also, I transmitted at the end of this year, the Environmental Commission did their annual report, a formal report, which will then be able to be used for sustainable Jersey points. I did, just to see the Environmental Commission Chairman here, I welcome you if you have any additional highlights from the report that you'd like to raise, please do so during public comment. I will let you know that I've transmitted the report to the full governing body members, so they've had a chance to review that. And it's a job well done, so congratulations.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you, Councilwoman Buckley.
Yep. And then moving on, this month, February, is Black History Month. And we have the Historic Commission, not to steal your thunder, John, they'll talk to their displays in a moment. As we begin Black History Month, we honor the significant contributions of Black Americans in our community. We recognize Mahala F. Atchison as the namesake of our elementary school. We recognize the 75 years of service of Donald Reevy Sr. at our last meeting. And we also need to recognize the Ruffin family, some of the members who are here today, dating back to John Rock, Civil War and World War I and World War II veterans. We applaud and encourage the Historical Association for their efforts to coordinate with the Ruffin family to afford it historical protections and get that lineage traced. We acknowledge the perseverance and strength of the extended Ruffin family in the face of injustice. The cemetery deserves to be acknowledged and protected for the history that lies within it, with respect and dignity. Additionally, we stand in support of the residents, some of which are here today, in support of the family and whose lives have also been disrupted. But it's great to see the community effort and community spirit, and we just wanted to recognize that, and I'd like to thank Mrs. Clay for helping me put the statement together. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Mrs. Clay.
Thank you, Council President. The first thing I have is an update from the Board of Education meeting on January 25th. At the board meeting, the president of the PTA, Meg Surgis, was recognized for her hard work organizing a very successful Harlem Wizards fundraiser, the money to benefit the 8th grade trip. In addition, there was a presentation of the new 8th grade assessment results, and as people, I'm sure, can imagine, our students are still in a recovery mode from class time missed from instruction during COVID. But I do have to say that I continue to be impressed by the efforts of the K-8 administration and the work that they're doing to assist our kids. On the 30th, Councilwoman Buckley and Councilman Nessie and myself visited the K-8 schools, and we had a nice tour by Dr. Goldie and the business administrator, Vin Daniels.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, I'm having a. And they showed us with great pride some of the renovations that have taken place and spoke about some things that are to come. And it was a great opportunity. I know for me personally, it's been quite a few years since I've been in the schools since my kids were there. So I was very thankful for their time that day. Congratulations to the Environmental Commission. The Osprey Fest was great. We had a very nice afternoon that day, chilly but nice, and the nests are very cool. Thank you to our Historic Commission for this evening's presentation, and that kind of comes a follow-up to the Juneteenth presentation, where we did honor a lot of women in African American history. And finally, I do think that with our proclamation tonight for Black History Month, it's also important just to state how vital it is that African American history is a large part of American history. And we honor Black History Month, we talk about African American history because we need to continue to stress that all Americans need to learn the complete history of these United States. And I just can't say enough about that. So in a time when things seem to get chipped away at, I think it's important to make that statement. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Clay. Dr. Dobrin.
Yes. So the Tinton Falls Public Library Association is continuing with obtaining donations for the March 25th Children's Fashion Show. They're doing pretty good. There's a lot of people who are donating and a lot of businesses throughout the town of Tinton Falls. But the fundraising committee is very active, and we'll probably see it on the website. And that's all my report is for tonight.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, President.
Mr. Nessie.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Council President. Light report tonight. Planning Board, there was an approval for a minor site plan and bulk variance for the Randy School for the entrance at the last Planning Board meeting. Next meeting was supposed to be for tomorrow night, but it's been postponed till early March. As far as the Chicken Advisory Board, there's been heightened interest with more people in town wanting to raise backyard chickens, and anybody who wants to raise chickens or knows somebody who wants to raise chickens, they can find all the information on the borough website under the Chicken Advisory Board under boards. And you can always email me or email the board directly, which also goes to me and the chairpersons as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Nessie. Well, let me start off by thanking the Historic Preservation for this lovely display and recognition of Black History Month. Do a great job, and looking forward to a great celebration for Juneteenth. So thank you so much. My report will be a thumbnail of what has taken place with the Ruffin Cemetery. So at last meeting, a lot of information. Most recent information I got from Stacy with the photographs and exploration of where he might have used space that he should not have used. But we have not received from him the revised site plan. At least I don't, have we received it? We haven't received those yet. Okay, so what have we done since then, since our last meeting? I visited the site a number of times, spoke to some of the residents, met with the Deputy Attorney General, with a board member of the Cemetery Board, with the operator, Mr. Sicalise. That was not a pleasure, but we met with him. We brought with us our attorney, Mr. Starkey, our town administrator, Charlie Telefenko, town engineer, Tom Neff, our enforcement officer, and we went over a couple of things with Mr. Sicalise regarding some violations related to our ordinance. He hemmed and hawed about that, but we pointed out to him that he can't be cutting trees down past a certain size. We got our attorney to write a letter, so there was a court action filed by the resident's attorney. And then the judge said he would not hear the case until March 3rd. Is that right?
That's accurate. March 3rd at 2 p.m. is the scheduled hearing.
So not being satisfied with that, we were seeking a cease and desist order. And our attorney wrote a letter to that effect, along with the resident's attorney. We have not heard back from the judge. At this point, I don't know I can't comment on the legality of it. I really don't know where it stands. We can have Mr. Starkey do that if he wishes to. Now, if they're going to be, if you have any information which is new, gladly welcome it during the public discussion. If it's going to be a repeat of what we've been heard already, of what we heard already and what we've done, let me tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to postpone that till I adjourn the meeting, and then I'd sit here all night listening to your complaints. But I want to move this along, so if you have something new to add what we've done, then please get up there and tell us, and we'll do it. If not, please hold your comments till after we adjourn the meeting. That concludes my report. There are no ordinances for introduction or final consideration this evening. Right? Public discussion. May I have a motion to open the public discussion?
Motion?
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is the time the public may comment on any topic of their choice. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. At this time, I'd ask the clerk if any public comments were submitted prior to this meeting via email.
There were none.
Please.
I think I'm way shorter than whoever was here before. Hi, Stacy Slowinski, Chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission, 755 Tinton Avenue. Last year, for our Juneteenth celebration at the Crawford House, we created this display of posters with information about women of color that had made contributions in various fields. With the beginning of Black History Month, we wanted to share this work with you and give the public an opportunity to see it. These are 8 women who lived in different eras, from the early 20th into the early 21st centuries. They worked in different fields, from the arts to medicine, education, journalism, and activism. What these women have in common is their leadership and the profound influence they had in both in their own sphere and beyond it. Most of these women are figures of national and even international renown, but we did include one of our own local heroes, Mahala Atchison, who's been mentioned before tonight. She taught for 46 years in Tinton Falls schools, and as we all know, our local primary school bears her name. We hope you'll take a few moments to meet these amazing women. Can I shift gears and ask another question on the Ruffin Cemetery question? I took a look at the judgment between Chickalese and Jean Ruffin, and there's a map attached to it that gives certain dimensions to a plot that they've outlined as the Ruffin Cemetery. Do we have any knowledge of where that lies in the real world, like on the ground?
No. And that's one of the questions we have raised with the Chicalees who operates the cemetery and with the court, because
Okay.
that is something that is legally required and we do not have it.
Okay, that was my question, because we don't have any way of knowing whether he's respecting even those boundaries, no less whether he's going beyond it, because obviously it appears there's activity in places that maybe there shouldn't be. My feeling is that the only way for us to know, I mean, I've surveyed, I have a spreadsheet of the gravestones that exist, there's 58 gravestones, we know who are on them, but there are many, many, many more graves that are unmarked. And the only real way to know where those graves are is if we do some geophysical surveys. I contacted the State Geological Survey. I think I made inquiries, and I heard back from them today. And unfortunately, the answer is they can't help us. I reached out to them because back in 2009, their office had conducted 2 surveys for us, one at the Pine Brook Cemetery and one at the Crawford House. And I thought, well, it's worth a shot. Maybe they're still doing this, but they are not. That was a program they had going at the time. That's no longer in their purview. So they can't help us and do it for free, but it is something that we could hire someone to do. I contacted Rich Veit at Monmouth University. He gave me the name of a guy he uses. So it's something that could be done. And I think foundationally, to know what we're trying to preserve, it would be a good idea to know where other bodies might be on that property, because I have a feeling that it's well beyond those established boundaries. So whatever we could do to establish that would be great. Thank you.
Mike? Yes, please, Lynn.
Linda Zuccaro, 127 Mill Lane in Tinton Falls. Not that Stacy needs any support, but I am sort of seconding what she had to say for the commission. She and I are the only 2 serving members now who have been on since the inception, which is either 90 or 91, something like that. And during all those years, we've endeavored to recruit black residents to the commission, and succeeded on 2 occasions, but there is not a black resident on our commission at the present moment. We feel that the history of our black community is vital to preserve, and we feel very strongly about the cemetery, as Stacy has indicated. These posters, I want to just say a word. This is a commission that, to me, is very interesting, because each member of the commission took one of these women to research, chose what to report about her, and then one of our members, who's talented in that way, Kathy D'Angelo, mounted the actual exhibit. So it's a hands-on thing. We didn't buy it from anyone, and we didn't hire anybody to put it together, and I think that's kind of good thing to do. So all I want to say in my less than 3 minutes is we do consider the role of our black community extremely important. We wish we could leave these posters up all month and have the whole community see as they come in to Borough Hall, but we'll have more for you at a later date. Thank you.
Would you consider keeping the posters up at the Crawford House? Okay.
We have precious little room for everything. We do some,
Yes, I know, familiar with the house.
as you know.
Yes. Yes, please.
Michelle Simon, 71 Madison Court. I have a question to follow up regarding Terry O'Connor's presentation with reference to her...
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you speak in?
I'm sorry. Normally, I'm pretty loud. I'm following up in reference to Terry O'Connor, the administrator from Monmouth County, providing an overview of the status of the MCRC. Specifically, she had mentioned that the county is honoring the expired host agreement. And as you know, I've come before the council in the past and asked the status of the host agreement. And she mentioned that they are honoring it and they're moving forward. However, there was no mention as to the negotiation for a new agreement, okay? And so as a part of the host agreement, we all know that there's supposed to be a committee, which includes at least a couple residents, who can communicate back to the community as to the status of what's going on over at MCRC. Now, recently, there was a public hearing that was held on December 21st that was published, but again, very little notice. My question is to the administration and council. Did anyone receive the notice regarding this public comment period for the draft permit.
Yep. I'll answer that. The notice was sent out by the DEP for the DEP meeting. I think they held it here out of convenience. It was not a borough meeting.
Okay.
And they sent out and published the notice, I believe, in accordance with their regulatory requirements. Published it in a local newspaper and sent out notices to concerned citizens or whoever they had to on their list.
Okay, thank you. And
Sure.
so, but did anyone in the council receive notice? I mean, everyone knows the importance of the host agreement and, you know, the ongoing issues with MCRC. And, you know, this is just another instance of the lack of transparency on behalf of Monmouth County. And Commissioner Arnone, he's made an effort to communicate from time to time, but with something of this importance, especially on the heels of the town hall that was held the last time in this very borough hall, nothing, we haven't heard anything. And so I'm just wondering, what is the status of the borough communicating and trying to negotiate a new host agreement so that we can have residents on the committee, so that as residents, we have the opportunity to communicate back to the town and say, hey, come on out. We want to hear your comments. What are your concerns?
Yes, but the negotiations, I'll admit it's been a long process, but we have been having discussions with the county. Just, I think it was in December that I went with the administrator and with our CFO to go and have another meeting at the county offices to see if we could work out a new agreement. In the meantime, the financial payments that were required under the last agreement are continued to be paid to the borough. But we're hopeful we can get a new agreement in place, and we're working on it.
Well, and I appreciate all the work and efforts that everyone's doing. I do, I truly do. However, it's still lacking. The community is not a part of the process. I've stood up, as well as many other residents, addressing these issues. It's just not, it's not acceptable. We need action. And when Ms. O'Connor asked, should I stay around to be able to answer questions? Why didn't Council President say, yes, stay around because there are residents who may have questions, with all due respect, okay? Did anyone attend the meeting on December 21st from council or borough? Did anyone attend the permit meeting?
The DEP
that was
meeting?
held here, yeah.
The DEP
I'm just wondering, did anyone?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Can we ask council and borough if anyone here attended that?
I did not, I don't recall receiving a notice of the meeting.
Okay.
So consequently, I didn't attend.
Okay. Does anyone know if there are minutes for the meeting, where I can get them? Does anyone have access to them? Can anyone help me as a resident to get the meeting minutes? Can you do something to?
I can tell you, the DEP typically maintains minutes of all their public meetings.
Sure.
It would, I don't know if it's posted on their website, but they are publicly available, the meeting minutes that are there.
Okay. Well,
And one of our council members asked if there was a recording of that meeting, and we don't have it.
okay. So, and I appreciate all of that, but what is Tinton Falls going to do about finding out more information about what's taking place with this permit, this Phase 4, which is going to have a tremendous impact on our community? I mean, the past couple weeks, there have been odors, and, you know, Commissioner Arnone wants us to contact him directly. What are we doing here at the borough level?
Well, I think, you know, if you called us, we would call Arnone. Understand? Now, I understand that you're unhappy with the communications. I don't know what we can do about that, that notices should have been sent. But I understand that's your principal complaint now.
Well, my principal complaint, and thank you, well, that's true, what you said. My principal complaint is that the host agreement has expired, and there are not residents that are on the committee. There's supposed to be a few residents that are on the committee so that we can communicate and we can be aware of these types of actions. And so I think that the ball's been dropped. And I've been hearing year after year that the host agreement has been expired, and we still don't have any residents on the community. I want to know what Tinton Falls is going to do about getting that resolved. Even with renegotiation of the host agreement, we still don't have, in the agreement that they were honoring residents on a committee. So they're saying that they're honoring it, they're not. So I'd like to know if somebody could get back to me and let me know what action Tinton Falls is going to take to get residents on this committee. That's my question.
So I'm the borough administrator, and I'll take full responsibility going forward, and I will be in communication with you directly and any other member of the community that wants to partake in any discussions going forward as per the agreement. In relationship to what you're speaking about, in all fairness to Ms. O'Connor, what she's talking about is mainly the financial end, to make sure that we're still getting the financial money that we should be getting. So that is in place, and we've had one meeting to discuss the terms of a possible new agreement and things like that. So we can definitely set up a committee with concerned citizens and have you as part of the committee going forward if we have a body that would like to do that.
Sure, I appreciate that, and I'm well aware of, and we discussed that in the Borough Hall, the monies that are being paid by the county. We explored that, and so basically the issue is that the agreement is not being honored in the manner in which it was originally agreed upon. So I would look forward to hearing from you. When do you think that I might be able to hear from you? Not an exact date, but...
Well, by all means, you can call my office tomorrow, and we'll speak offline. I'll give you my contact information, and we'll set up a date that we can meet. And if you have anybody else that would like to come in with you, I'd be more than happy to sit down with them.
Sure, that would be great. All right, well, thank you, everyone, for your time.
Yes, John.
Jonathan Cohn, 76 Maywood Run. As chairman of the Environmental Commission for the last 33 years, I wanted to say thank you to Tracy for helping us with this report. And if you have any questions, I know you just got it today, so if anybody has any questions, please reach out to myself or Tracy or anybody else on the commission. We'll be more than glad to answer those questions. Tracy's been very, very helpful in working with the Environmental Commission. John was the liaison a few years back, and Brock Siebert beforehand, now Tracy. And I will say, you all have been great for it with us, and I really appreciate the help that we've gotten from the council over the last few years. Any questions on the report? You probably haven't read it yet. All right, thank you.
Thank you, John. Yes, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Karen Brittingham Edmond, and is this going higher? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, so far, yeah.
All right, back here, okay. I am the direct descendant of Mr. William Elijah Rock and Mr. Leroy Rock, who was recently honored over at the Navy for a Black History celebration. And I really want to I'm here today because of the concerns of Pine Brook Cemetery, but I'm also here to really share how proud I am of this council. Tracy and John have been coming out to the site faithfully. They actually communicate with community members as well as family members in a respectful and honest way. And with that, because it's quite a traumatizing thing that people can go through psychologically, it's almost like having new wounds, old wounds, reopened that could have totally been avoided if someone could have used respect and care. So I just want to thank you guys for standing with the neighbors, for standing with my dear cousin Carrie. for standing with Black history here in Monmouth County, which is important and that can make a difference for our children, but we have to preserve it and we have to work together for the good and not for the bad. Okay? Is that okay?
Thank you.
Good evening. Gary Herview, 10 Blueberry Lane. I'd like to echo those comments. On behalf of the residents by the Ruffin Cemetery, I want to say thank you to this council, members that have been out, attorney, Mr. Tarafenko, Mr. Neff. It's very important, as I said the last meeting, that we have your support, and we've gotten that thus far, both in your visits and letter that Mr. Starkey wrote in support of our complaint before Freehold. I guess it's the Chancery Court. So that is heartfelt, absolutely. Appreciate the communication and the support. With that said, the current operator, as you know, is pretty much moving along as if nothing is going on. Seems to have the wind at his back relative to the cemetery board, and isn't pretty much sweating too much other that's going on. And from what we can tell, there's even action before the town to maybe expand, go through Bowles Lane, which we've talked. So I'm not going to be long. I just, while we appreciate the outrage and the support, I think we also need to be vigilant to make sure that it's not just business as usual for this operator, especially with an ongoing complaint before the courts. And I would think, and we can certainly talk about this offline, but I think the role is to protect the town. And while there is an ongoing complaint as to the ownership of the property, you know, we have concerns about obviously the atrocities that are going on over there that we've all seen that are despicable and disgusting. But we also have impact that could eventually happen to our neighborhood. We have families, we have safety concerns, traffic patterns, the whole 9 yards. And if he had his way, he'd be putting entrances anywhere he could. So what I would like to ask is, from a legal point of view, can we freeze any applications that the operator is putting before a planning board or a zoning board until the complaint and the court is concluded? Can that be done?
I'm hesitating only because your attorney, who by the way is very capable, does an excellent job of presenting the complaint to the court. That's scheduled for a hearing on March 3rd.
Correct.
I'll be there on behalf of the borough, supporting his application. One of the things he's asking for is exactly what you just said.
Okay.
A stopping of everything. That right now is in the hands of the judge. So I think it's best course of action right now is to continue doing what we're doing and present that on March 3rd.
Okay, so, and I appreciate that. But if, say, that operator puts a plan in front of Mr. Nessie on the planning board, you're on the planning board, I got from your previous comments, there's nothing that stops the planning board from hearing that out and making motions on it and moving forward? I mean, I would think that a reaction would be, well, why don't we settle all of our questions before we move forward with it?
I can tell you this, nothing is going to be in front of the planning board before March 3rd. It just, the process, we have received.
Is that the right board, the planning board, or is it the zoning board?
I don't know the answer to that yet, because it depends on, there's nothing been submitted to the borough for review or for approval.
Okay.
So asking where would it go?
Okay.
You can't answer that until you see.
But what you're saying is nothing would happen until the court date on the 3rd at the earliest?
Absolutely. The process does.
Because I'm here to tell you, he's doing surveys of all the properties. I got stakes on my property. He's got, I mean, they're not there anymore, but they're going, he has got no problem spending money to put stuff before this town.
I've heard that, and I think he is intending to put something in. We don't have anything, but in the next 30 days.
Okay.
Okay. The process just does not move that fast.
Okay. All
So though I can guarantee you there'll be nothing presented to the planning board, zoning board, any board in town prior to March 3rd. So I just say let's, take things as they come, but let the judge
Very good.
consider
Okay.
everything.
Okay, very good. Thank
Just
you.
in addition to which, we realize once what authority he has, there are other violations there, environmental and ordinances that
Correct.
We will attack or address once we get the main issue out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first inning. This is, and I think there's so much money to be made there in his commercial operation that I don't think he's going to stop very easily. So we need to have the fortitude to make sure that we protect not only the historical aspect, the neighborhood, the community, whatever angle we're talking about this, and as you all know, there's plenty of angles on this. We just want to make sure that we're diligent about it. So we appreciate your support once again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I see that.
Michael Stanton, 9 Bowles Lane. I'm here to talk about the Ruffin Cemetery. I'd like to focus on a couple points tonight. First is the property ownership and borough ordinances. So contrary to what was discussed before, Borough Ordinance 40-29, Part 6 states no building or structure shall be erected on, nor shall any clearing or grading take place on any property not owned by the entity performing the work without prior written approval and easements from the property owner on which the work is taking place and approval of a zoning permit. Note that it says property owner explicitly. Mr. Chicalese and his company are not the property owner. Mr. Gene Ruffin is also not the property owner, not shown as in any official property records as being the owner of the property. Records show that Cynthia Ruffin is the owner of the property. Therefore, I hope that there is no mistakes made in allowing anyone to clear or grade on that property or submit any planning board applications or applications for any other permits unless submitted by Cynthia Ruffin, who is deceased, or until the property ownership officially changes to someone else. I would urge the Borough Attorney to look into that and to also make note of that to the Freehold Soil Commission, because they will also be probably engaged in a permit for that lot. My other point addresses past unsavory actions by these individuals. In 2005, Mr. Chicalese said that he was invited by the family and he came in as a white knight to save and clean up the cemetery. He stated that Miss Lily Jackson and Miss Margaret Conover wanted his intervention, and everyone other than Gene Ruffin supported him and told him that Gene was essentially an outcast from the family. Public records at the time show letters from the other relatives stating that they found Mr. Chicalese to be distasteful, unscrupulous, and only out to steal from them, and they didn't want him on their property. He ignored this since he could not win at the time and bided his time until Lily Jackson and Margaret Conover died. Then he reappeared at the end of 2017, remarkably right after Lily Jackson died earlier that year, and started burying people in the cemetery when he knew he wasn't supposed to be doing that. Now he is trying to deflect and obfuscate, knowing that most, if not all, family members who opposed him in 2005 are deceased and can't testify against his unsubstantiated claims he puts forth as facts. For instance, in a recent News 12 report on the cemetery, Chicalese refused to respond himself, but submitted a response that painted the issue as only one of neighbors not wanting a cemetery in their backyard. This is quite funny since he and his agents have repeatedly stated that the neighbors asked him to come in and clean up the cemetery. Now when it suits him, he does a 180. His framing it as an issue by the neighbors is like a thief in a shopping mall who is caught red-handed, then crying that the witnesses are testifying because they want a better parking space. I and many of my neighbors have lived here for over 30 years. I bought knowing the area and that a cemetery existed. Over the years, I've visited the graves and participated in group activities to clear leaves and debris at the cemetery and neighboring Pine Brook Cemetery, as well as help locate unmarked and unknown graves, including a set of graves across from my southern property line, which I reported to the borough around the time I first moved in. On the other hand, I've been told Mr. Chicalese has had American Indian burial memorials destroyed and plowed over, and he's moved many historic family gravestones across the field without permission from the descendants. 2 weeks ago, I spent some time helping a distraught woman find her elder family's graves as they had been moved. It was heart-wrenching to see her shock and sadness through her tear-filled eyes. Many others have visited the cemetery recently and all devastated when they see the condition of the graves that have been made by Mr. Chicalese and Mr. Broad as operatives. I know the council has personally gone to the visit, and I thank them for that. But if this is what Mr. Chickley's touts as being a cemetery that is cared for and cleaned up, I doubt anyone here would bury a family pet there, nonetheless a parent, grandparent, or child. One of my purposes today is to let the council and administration more fully understand the character and actions of the men they have met with in the past so they aren't fooled. While the condition of the cemetery should speak for itself, I have a few more documents which are part of the public record held by this borough and by the New Jersey Cemetery Board. Putting aside the legality of his company's operations on the cemetery, let's just look at how he solicited his 16 proxies to supposedly create his corporation. He sent a letter, most of them to very elderly women. The letter signed by Mr. Chickley states, I would like to inform you that for the redevelopment and upgrading of Ruffin Cemetery, you must complete one of the following. The two options were either to show up and to apply for a, actually I have the letter here, you can look at it later, but basically said they have to sign a proxy. The statement on face is misleading because there was no need for the addressee to take any action. And so unwittingly, some may have signed proxy without understanding their options. If we assume that 16 were essentially scammed into giving Chickley 16 proxies, it is notable to mention that once the families found out that what truly happened, there were 25 proxies obtained on January 10th, 2006 to throw him out and kick him off the property. I've not seen the 16 proxies, but I have seen the 25 which were sent to DAG Hugglemeyer and Borough Administrator on February 8th, 2006. As I mentioned previously, Mr. Chickley has made refuted statements as recorded in the Cemetery Board meeting minutes of July 14th, 2005, wherein Louis Chickley, President, Ruffin Cemetery, has written to DAG Hugglemeyer providing some background on his involvement with the Ruffin Cemetery and to correct what he believes to be misconceptions by Mr. Gene Ruffin. Mr. Chickley advised that in November 2004, he met with the only two living heirs of Cynthia Ruffin, Margaret Conover and Lily Jackson. Gene Ruffin was asked to attend the meeting but did not. According to Mr. Chickley, both Margaret and Lily have told him that Gene has no authority to speak for the family or the cemetery. Mr. Chickley, as per the wishes of Lily and Margaret and Lily, is in the process of rebuilding the cemetery's data to establish proper cemetery records. Refuting this is a notarized letter from Margaret Conover, which was sent to DAG Hugglemeyer and Cemetery Board Executive Diane Tamargolia, as well as a letter she wrote to Mr. Chickley expressing her shock at reading what he had stated to the cemetery board. Part of that letter is, I, Margaret Conover, hereby attest that I have never given permission, written or oral, to Louis Chickley's Ruffin Cemetery Incorporated's Board of Trustees to manage, operate, sell graves, plots, burials, or do anything with the property known as Ruffin Cemetery, also known as Lot 10607, Lot 22 in the Borough of Tinton Falls. I am hereby putting on notice that New Jersey Cemetery Board and they are not permitted to permit Louis Chickley's Ruffin Cemetery Incorporated's Board of Trustees to manage, operate, sell grave plots, conduct burials, or do anything with my family's cemeteries. This is a notarized letter from it. In addition, she wrote a letter I have a couple letters here, but one of the interesting ones here is one she wrote to Margaret Conover and wrote to Louis Chickley on August 26, 2005, which was right after that meeting. Notes that it says, Mr. Chickley, I'm shocked at your statements in your letter dated June 9th, 2005 to Mr. Hugglemeyer, DAG for the New Jersey Cemetery Board. Let me make this clear to you. You have never been granted permission to author or authority to manage our cemetery. My family does not want you or your Board of Trustees to sell any grave plots on our land. You were not asked to lend us money for you to have a survey made or to put up a fence. You are to stay off our property. Most of all, you should be ashamed of yourself for trying to take over our property so you can put money in your pockets. Our cemetery is just fine the way it is. Please do not contact me or my sister again. Sincerely, Margaret Conover. So I have some other letters if anybody would like to see them after this time, but just wanted to let you know and thank you for attending, coming to some of the cemetery on some of these Sundays. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? No further comments? Hearing no further comments, I have a motion to close the public discussion.
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Did I have a second?
Tracy. Second.
I didn't hear it, sorry. Does any member of the council have anything to add? Oh, all in favor of, I'm sorry. All in favor of closing the public comment?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Does any member of the council have anything to add? No. You don't have to read these? Okay. At this time, we will move on to resolutions. We have 2 resolutions for consideration. May I ask the clerk to read the title of the first resolution?
R 23-36, resolution of support for Salis Wellness LLC for Class 5 retail cannabis license.
I have a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call?
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Abstain.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes. May I ask the clerk to read the title of the next resolution?
R 23-37, resolution authorizing acceptance of applications for cannabis licenses between February 15th and March 15th.
I have a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call?
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Abstain.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Before we do, are there any items any member of the council would like removed to be voted upon separately? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes. This concludes today's business. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is now adjourned.